Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending another round of our CARM open mic session. I'm Maria, the marketing manager at GHY, and I will be moderating this session today. We've allocated 30 minutes today for our sixth open mic session. This session is dedicated entirely to your questions. It is an opportunity to get answers and learn about the most frequently asked questions GHY has received since the official launch of CARM. So here's how we'll manage the questions this session. First, we do encourage attendees to ask their questions live. To do this, please use the raise hand feature by navigating to the top of the Teams window to the meeting controls area and select that little hand icon. We'll call on people in the order that the hands were raised. So once we call on you, please turn on your microphone and video to ask your question, then turn them off again whether we've completed answering your question or after you've asked your question have nothing further to add. As a special incentive, we are offering a GHY Care package that includes a GHY Blue Guide for the best live ask question. So if you prefer not to ask your question live, that's okay. You can type your question into the Q&A discussion area, and you can access this by navigating to the meeting controls area again and clicking on that Q&A icon. So we'll alternate between live questions and those in the Q&A, making sure to address everyone in turn as best we can. After the session concludes, we'll be sending out links to an access of the recording and some other useful resources on CARM to explore. So our speakers today are Al Duer, GHY's Executive Vice President, and Sarah Maricott, our CARM and Special Projects Manager. So now let's open the floor with a bit of an intro by Sarah and Al.
Good morning. Thank you, Maria, and welcome everybody. Kind of start the session with just giving a little bit of a refresher, making sure everybody understands where we're at with order fluidity and that the main purpose of CARM is post-release, so your entries after release. There have been minimal issues with the border and any issues with release, and I will kind of discuss those actually in a bit with just a couple updates as to what importers should be aware of. Most importers are have handled their account properly, registered prior to, and are not going to run into some of these issues, but I want to make sure everybody's aware of them. I think the other thing we really like to just make sure we mention is to keep in mind that when you go into your CARM portal, you may be getting advised you have something to action. And if it's actioning of CADs, that is something that we as your broker would do on your behalf, or whoever your broker may be would be handling that for you. And we've had some instances where people have tried to file the CAD on their behalf, and it can cause quite an issue between what was truly declared at customs and what is being declared for final accounting. So make sure you talk to your broker if you think there's something that you need to action.
So in addition to that, we're going to do something really different. This is our sixth session. We have been nothing but doing open mic. You ask questions, we provide context. This session, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to show a live portal, talk about some of the features and functionalities, and maybe that'll prompt some more questions. Sarah will walk through that. As Sarah's alluded to, everything's released, everything's been moving well. And CBSA is really excited that they've got more than 1.5 million CADs, the Customs Accounting Declarations, filed as of November 7th. That's certainly nowhere near what the number should be on a regular type of transit, but we are in transition. So things are progressing. The issues that are still causing gaps between release and accounting mostly have to deal with certain tax calculations or relief codes, and CBSA is working through resolving those. So as Sarah alluded to, you may see things needing action. Well, you shouldn't be actioning that. Whoever released the goods should be. That basically is why you pay a broker. I believe you pay them to release things, 724, 365. Things like accounting, things like payment, and even things like in a post audit, those are all choices. You can be involved, or you may choose to outsource that to a service provider, whether that be a broker or a consultant. I know from an accounting standpoint, you've already paid them for that, so let them account. Payment, that becomes a choice. You can pay a broker, or you can pay direct, and we'll talk about that. And additionally, from an audit standpoint, because that's what CARM triggers, things on a post-audit basis, where CBSA has a direct relationship with you now, that they can, the importer, they can communicate to you. And as a result, they expect security to be posted that provides you privileges to having post-audit payment. When I think of an audit standpoint, I'm going to compare it to a personal example. I happen to be an executor of an estate. In my role as executor, I have to do certain accounting things, and I don't understand that dynamic. That's what an accountant's there for. Just like a broker is there for 724, 365 release, as well as being familiar with the changes that occur in release and accounting. So when I receive a notification, and I did, that more work had to happen, and it came to me as the executor, but what did I do with it? I engaged the accountant, but that was my choice to engage the accountant. I could try to resolve it myself, or I could engage the accountant because that was my service provider. But we can talk about that more as we progress. Right now, I'll turn it over to Sarah to take us where we might be going, and then we'll get into some questions as well.
For sure. Okay. So what we'll do is just a quick sharing here of the screen and excellent. Maria, you can see that?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. So this is a CARM client portal. Most of you, if not all, I hope, have already obtained access to it and are able to navigate your main functions. What we wanted to point out today, just for anybody who is perhaps having issues or who hasn't yet registered and is going to, especially new clients. So one of the aspects up here is your RM. And you may only have one or you may have multiple, but it's important to understand what those RMs are. So typically RM 0001 is your importing account, but it may not necessarily be. So in this case, Al over here only has one RM, and we're going to go over into accounts and profile. And in program account profile, here it's going to provide a little more detail as to what that program is. So what is that RM? And you can tell this is an importing RM. In some cases, because you've applied for your RM through CRA, and at the time they applied your import and export together, some companies are noticing that this is an export RM, and you cannot declare your goods for import under that, and you need to ensure that you have a second RM, or you need to apply for that RM. So it's very important to understand you must have both an import and an export if you're doing both activity, and to ensure that your broker, whoever that may be, has your importing RM.
So Sarah, if I was an exporter, that my first name was an export, it would probably be an RM1 because that's how I would set up. And then later I decided to import, I couldn't use this number for import.
Correct. And it does appear like CBSA has been assigning, or CRA, we're not really sure where it's coming from, has been assigning that RM 0001 as the export RM in some cases. So it's really important to just verify you've got the right one. If your goods have already been coming in since CARM started and you're getting your CADs, you're good. But there are definitely some issues we've noticed here. So it's important to understand that. If you want to if you need to, more than anything, because you're probably importing and you don't have one, then you'll need to sign up for one. And CBSA has actually made that very easy now. You no longer have to go through a lengthy process. Instead, you can go over to Set Up My Portal, and you would enroll in a CBSA program. And then you just follow through the steps. So enroll in a program here. I won't be able to go too much further, but I can go import, and then you would enroll in an import account, and you just follow through this.
So if I were to do this, Sarah, because I wanted to have a separate import account, like another RM, that's what I would do?
That's correct.
Okay.
Or if you need an export RM, let's say you do also export, instead you could apply for that one. And these are all other programs, CBSA programs that can be applied for. Depending on the program, you might need more information. There may be paperwork and documentation that you need to attach. But again, CBSA really does walk you through the process, provides you a link to a document if there's something specific you need to fill out.
Okay.
One other thing to keep in mind in that, if it turns out you only had an export RM and you need to apply for an import RM, you're also going to need to apply for the release prior to payment enrollment, because you wouldn't have had an RM for import, so you wouldn't be enrolled in that program. Again, that's in your program account profile where your import is. You go to sub-program, and in here it'll tell you if you currently have release prior to payment privileges, which is right here. So Al does. And Al, do you know what that means?
I think it means that I can cross the border and not pay at the time of release and pay at the end of the month. And because I was grandfathered in, I don't have to have a bond or post security now until later next year.
Exactly.
Oh, all right.
He passed the test. That's what I've got for now. Do we want to maybe take some questions?
Yeah, let's go
Come
to
back?
questions, and if that takes us back to the screen, we'll do that too.
Great. All right, we'll jump in. So we've got a live one here from Alejandra. Did you want to go ahead and turn your mic on and video and go ahead with your question?
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
My question is regarding our transactions. As of last week, our account was a balance of 0, and now I'm showing an overdue balance due immediately. And I reviewed the transactions. I can't match that amount to any of the transactions that we have live in the portal. So I'm thinking those are related to that period from October 4 to October 29th or around those dates that we didn't account for um, on our previous SOA. So I'm just wondering how to handle that and how do we get that paid?
Yeah, so there could be a couple parts to it. So as Al and I were discussing in here where it shows you may have something that requires your attention. Technically, this is on us as your broker or whomever that person is that released those goods on your behalf. In here, you may have CADs that are due within 5 days or past due. These ones, although they haven't yet been final accounted for, they are going to show that there is an amount that may be due. Your other option is then also going into your financial information and go into transactional history. And in some cases, you may need to update your date range in here and look at what may be past due, what may be posted. So maybe different options there. If you're a client of GHY and you're still unsure, just give us a call and we'll help walk you through it.
And I guess if you're not, the other thing that is still being reported that we're hearing about through the Canadian Society of Customs Brokers is there's a lot of payments, not all, so we can't say anything conclusively, but payments that haven't been applied or payments that aren't displaying correctly. If you feel that your portal is showing something inaccurate, the next thing to do is open a ticket with CBSA. We will share that information as to how to go about opening the ticket, and they will get back to you at a time that works with their schedule and assist you in problem solving.
And
Okay,
make sure, sorry.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was able to adjust the date range. I actually missed that part. So now I'm going to look and try to match those transactions. We are a client of GHY. Are we going to receive that period in October along with our November period? And then can we pay it all together? Or how is that?
Yeah, so keep in mind that because of that blackout period, and then because we've been holding to ensure that we're not sending anything until it's ready to go, you know, as Al alluded to, there's say some issues with duty and GST and stuff like that. So we held until we knew something was good. So for that reason, you may have a lot of transactions that are technically from last month's period, but they will show up on your account KD4 report for November. And it's also important to note that CBSA recognized that this wasn't going to be a day one, everybody's accounts are going to be in good standing. So they did grant a 90-day penalty free on payments, understanding as long as it's a CARM related issue, that this obviously would be, that they're not going to penalize you. They recognize that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle as we clean up and make sure all accounts are good.
But everything will be trued up the minute it can be posted, and whatever your process was before, if your process was to pay GHY, you will receive that information in that fashion. If your process was to pay the government direct, you'll see it posted, as Sarah alluded to. We hope in November if they clean everything up in the next week or so. But again, as each thing they clean up is looked after, we send more transactions. We're just a little proud of the fact that of the 1.5 million, we're probably about 33% of that. So we're very much ahead of the curve in the brokerage environment for being able to file customs accounting declarations.
No,
And
yeah,
Tina,
I have to
sorry.
say it seems it has felt easier than it sounded at first. I think everyone was a little bit panicking, and now we're getting through. But thanks for the answer and the
Thank you.
information.
Thank you for your question. Okay, we'll move into another live question here from Sandra. Sandra, did you want to go ahead?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I was trying to first of all, we are a non-resident importer of record into Canada. Had everything set up on the CARM. I was working with a broker of ours in Canada, and he had made a comment. I do not see your security deposit or bond. I'm looking right at it. Has anybody else had any issues? And he's got full access to everything. So has anybody else had any issues with their brokers claiming that they're not seeing their bonds posted?
So although we may have full visibility, so you may have supplied your broker with the business manager access and even full visibility to everything, but there are limitations to what CBSA has allowed us as brokers to see, and that is one of those limitations. We do not see your bonds or what your financial security requirement would be.
Sandra, it's a great question because
Well, it was
I
odd
hate,
that he even asked me or even assumed I didn't have it done.
well, because they can't see it at all. Like that whole financial thing that, Sarah, can you go to my portal for a sec?
So basically, I have to tell them, yes, I do, and they will proceed.
Exactly. Like that
Okay. Okay.
the financial security that were on the one tab before, they don't even see that in relationship to your account at all.
Okay. So that was again why I was so shocked when he said that I didn't have one. Instead of asking the question, did you get your cash bond posted?
Yeah.
The only thing
Okay.
that we would see, because this isn't hidden from us as a broker, is we could see here if there's anything posted here, then it would note. That's the
Okay.
only
And
place
it
we have
is.
any visibility. Yeah.
It is. It
So
is
if you instruct him to
right
go
there.
there, he'd be able to see that, but that would be the
Okay.
only thing that he'd be able to have visibility to.
Okay. Okay.
Great
Great.
question, Sandra.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sandra. Okay, we're going to jump into another live question from Bryn. Bryn, did you want to go ahead with your question? Bryn, are you there? Oh, okay. They've lowered their. Oh,
Can you guys hear me okay?
there we go.
Yeah,
Yes,
great.
we
Thanks. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. I just had some technical difficulties, but yeah, I just wanted to clarify. We've had some challenges with the setting up of the payments in CARM. So for a few things, the pre-authorized debit option, we're not particularly fond of that because it just seems at the end of the month they take out whatever is owing on your account. And given the amount of discrepancies that we've seen in CARM, we're a little apprehensive to do that at the moment. We've also we're just wondering, is it possible just to pay direct as we did previously to CARM, to just wire the money and it'll show up on our CARM account? Or I'm just curious if you could clarify how folks are kind of actually paying for things through CARM.
Well, and I think this will also, Tina had asked a similar question too. And so to keep in mind, to work with your broker on how you've paid in the past. If you've paid your broker, then they can continue to pay on your behalf if that's the best option for you. If you have been paying in a specific mode direct to CBSA though, in most cases that can continue. CBSA did remove wire transfer, I believe, from their from their options, but online banking has remained, currently, I believe you can still pay check. They do say they will be phasing that one out, but it is still a viable option.
But Britton, speaking to your point too, I certainly respect your comment. I wouldn't necessarily do a pad at this point either, for what you just stated. However, you can pay through the CARM portal, or if you were previously just dialing on through your bank, punching in your BN and using that to issue the payment, that still works and quite frankly always will.
Okay, so you can still pay through your bank. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then here,
And it will post automatically to your account.
Yeah.
And Sarah, I think, is just gonna show how, or click here, if you chose to go through the portal.
it'll
It
give you
would-
this, and then you would just go through, and then it will connect you to, a secured credit card activity where you would put in your credit card and you can make a one-time payment if you ever need to do that. So you can find that through transaction history.
All kinds of choices.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Maria.
Oh, sorry about that. We'll go to our next live question and then we'll jump into the Q&A. Mary, did you want to go ahead?
Hi, thank you. Hi, Sarah and Al. I have been on the portal downloading my transaction history furiously, trying to understand what they're saying compared to what I think they're saying. And in one of the columns on the portal, when you download transaction history, there's a column called transaction status. And most of the transactions that we have that have been submitted say file open, which makes sense because they're not paid. They're going to be on a statement of account. We're going to pay them at the end of November. But some items say paid. Now, most of the stuff that says paid are things from a RSF posting, like our last payment in October. But there are some transactions that are assessments, and they say paid beside them, and they for sure have not been paid. They have been sent to the portal since the portal opened on October 21st. They've been accepted. They are KDX accepted, or whatever the status is in the service providers thing, but they say paid on the portal and they are not paid. Maybe this is something that I should open a ticket with, because I for sure want them to show up on a statement of account so I can pay them.
So I have two thoughts to that, Mary. And by the way, Mary, I always think you can give these classes better than me, so I'm not sure why you're on.
No,
But,
I appreciate everything.
Thought number one is what you just said, ticket. Thought
Right.
number two is my worry that, some payment has come in and went to an oldest debt, and that applied to that.
That is what they have problem, because these are entries that have been submitted to the portal that are prior to the current period. So they are technically late entries, and in the old system that a CSA importer is used to, like, okay, we're submitting late, that's just what we do, and then we expect to pay interest. So they've submitted a payment, but what payment, I wonder, I mean, they have applied a payment, but I wonder what a payment they have applied in order to give it paid status.
Yeah.
And
Because
so
we just
in
paid
both-
our RSF,
Yeah,
ticket.
in both cases, you got to go through with the ticket for sure. But one is just a plain error, or two is they've done something you didn't want to happen based on the oldest debt, and those would be the two things. But both require a ticket. So I'm sorry I couldn't be more of more direct help.
It's
No,
something
that's
very
okay. It's worth
important.
asking.
Yeah, it's important for everybody to definitely understand that your account is no longer a transactional based account. You are not paying by transaction, you are paying by an account. So when you put down money, it's going to automatically begin clearing rules overnight. So anything that is past due will be pulled from that amount that you post. And it has specific rules, but generally it's going to take that oldest debt and pay that off. So that sounds like what it happened in Mary's case. I believe that's probably that transaction you and I looked at that was from August, right?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okie
Mary.
dokie. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll jump over to the Q&A and then we'll jump back into a live question. So Tina, she asks, should our broker be charging us for the GST charging us the GST4 payment to the broker. Shouldn't those charges be paid through CARM now? And she expands on that. We paid our broker GST on the shipments we imported, but those same GST amounts are showing past due, needing payment on our CARM portal.
Yeah, and that would very well be right now, because again, we're in this transition period of trying to clean up those old CADs, everything that's going on. So nobody's account is really going to be 100% clear right now. So if you've paid us, we will pay on your behalf. It's just that it may not be showing as of yet.
And so to compound or reference further to what Sarah had said there, if we happen to be your broker, if we're not, your broker is sitting in a position right now where, hi, you're entitled to relief or duty-free exemption codes that aren't working in CBSA's system. We've given you an entry knowing that you probably want it for costing or what have you in normal business practice, but we haven't finalized the accounting, or they haven't finalized the accounting, because if they try to, it will assess duty, and you don't want that, because then you're going to have to pay it. So it's being held until their system gets cleaned up. So whether it be we or your existing broker has done is they've given you something for costing. They will true things up as soon as CBSA fixes some of the holes in their system. Happy to take this offline, whether you're a client or not, to talk about which particular hole that might be depending on your business.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to jump into a live question. Kim, did you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So I know the financial security amount that's in the portal might not be accurate, but should it show the largest monthly amount that we paid in GST and duties in the last year, or 50%, or what should it show?
Great question, yeah.
It should absolutely say the largest amount, because that's what they expect you to post as security if you post cash. If you post a surety bond, you will post 50% of that amount.
Okay. Okay, that's what I figured, but ours is definitely not right. It's showing way more
that
than...
could be happening too.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was going to say, you have to keep in mind, some people have been experiencing where the calculation has not currently been accurate, or even if you have a bond, that it's posting only what your bond amount is. So you have to keep in mind, let's say it tells you what your highest month would be, and you've posted an amount. That posted amount should be double if it's a written security, so that it shows the full quantity.
Just do a refresh just to make sure we don't lose this.
Sorry, hang on 1 second.
Okay, as long as it's supposed to, yeah, because it does show that I have a bond posted, but yeah, the amount that it's showing in there is something like way over what our bond is, but by my calculations, I should be fine. So
yeah, and I wouldn't worry too much right now. I think as CBSA is aware that it's a known issue and they're working through it. But once we start approaching that deadline and requiring of ensuring that your bond amount does, either match or exceed a little bit, then if we're still saying, hey, you're seeing an issue, I would definitely suggest at that point filing a ticket with CBSA and having them reassess on your behalf.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. Okay, we will go to a Q&A question, and then we'll jump into another live question. From Joshua, our CARM automated messages, which are you have a notification. Is there a plan on having more details, example, any details in the subject line on the emails, or is it going to stay very vague as what is needed or if action is needed?
Yeah.
So Joshua, you're quite frankly just saying something that's common sense. It's incredibly frustrating, particularly if you're receiving those notifications. I would suggest that at their next release, which We hope will be like April as they're starting to adjust things, assuming they've corrected matters and do a subsequent release. I would suggest that will be something that should change, but they haven't announced a darn thing. So I think you have to just count on receiving things as is, which they'll tell you if you owe money, if they want to talk to you, or if they're just telling you something's released. I'm sorry. That's the way they designed the system.
I mean, what they've stated in several of the webinars or, you know, communications when there's been questions similarly asked is that for privacy reasons, they do keep it very vague, much like CRA does with your CRA account, right? They just tell you there's something in there. You don't know if you truly have to action it or if you need to go in and it's just your notification. So it is frustrating, but
All right, thanks for that question. We're going to go to Mike with a live question. Mike, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I'm new to this. I don't do much business in Canada. I've gone through all the setup of CARM. In the financial surety information, I have zero.
that can be, yeah, well, it can be a couple things.
But he says he's new, so
Yeah,
as you're starting new, like they don't know what it should be, you don't know what it should be. So right now, you're okay.
yeah. Just, you know, do your thing, import. If it continues to remain at 0, then you do have the option to not post anything. Our recommendation and what CBSA has said is to probably just post a small cash bond in case something is coming across the border with a value. So if you keep in mind, if you have any form of security, CBSA is going to recognize that. They're just going to say, oh, whoa, you really need a lot more, as opposed to you don't have any and you can't come in. So
Okay, thank you.
and your other possibility too for anyone else as well is if your commodities are duty-free GST exempt, your highest monthly payout in duties and taxes would be 0. Again, still probably a wise idea to post a little something.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike. Okay, we've got a question in the Q&A here from Shannon. Upon logging in, I get a message that my user account has been disabled. There is a certain time frame of account inactivity that causes your account to close. Is there a certain time frame?
I mean, CBSA did say a while ago they wouldn't do it anymore, but I continue to hear this. So I've heard from CBSA that you should log in at least once a year. I don't know if I would even wait that long because it is quite tedious to work with CBSA to get reactivated. I recommend, you know, log in once a month, log in every couple months to ensure that you remain active.
But once a year could definitely have closed you out. And let's face it, the portal came live May 2021 and was, some would argue, was totally useless until now. And so why would you log into it if it had no value? So easy, Shannon could see that be an issue. So unfortunately, you're going to have to go through CBSA's help desk to get reinstated. Unless you've got somebody else who's also sharing the portal with you and their account is active, then you can just get another GC key, ask to be, what do you call it?
Business account manager.
A business account manager, and then they could grant you access. But that's all we could offer.
Thanks, Shannon, for that question. Okay, we'll go over into another live one. Adrian, did you want to go ahead?
Yes. Hi, good morning. Thank you, Sarah and Alan, for your time. I had like 2 questions. First one, could you show us how to submit a ticket? And the other question I had was, is it possible to see multiple businesses under one like portal or homepage? Because I help multiple business numbers, and I've had to sign up for multiple GC keys. And I was just wondering if there was a way that, I could just have one GC key and just be able to like toggle between multiple business numbers.
So as Sarah gets the place for ticketing, I'll start answering the question relating to what you would like to have that certainly works if you're dealing in the United States with their ACE portal. No, you'd you unfortunately have to have, if you've got completely separate business numbers, like they're not different RM extensions that roll into the same business number, you have to have unique GC keys, and you have to sign on in the fashion that you're doing. It's very inconvenient. And they do recognize its limitation. They are taking it under advisement because it's a common complaint. However, they've referenced there's a small, in their opinion, there's a small amount of businesses that are, or people that are like you, so it's not a priority and hasn't been for, quite frankly, a couple of years.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
And Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I get those emails too, right? Like
and you don't even know what account it's for.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. So yeah, so I'm like, oh gosh, I have to log into every single one of my business number accounts.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. You're definitely not alone, and it's been brought up several times to CBSA that there may be one person that is responsible for a lot of businesses. They need to figure out some form of link or clearer understanding of maybe even just what notification that is for.
What do we got here? Portal access issues, but that isn't having to do with a ticket, but what do you know?
So you can just search for CBSA Ticket Center. And go through here where it gives you a little bit of information on what you may need, help desk. So if you click here on this client support, it will bring you to their ticket center. This may be a faster option than calling the hotline right now because there's been a lot of discussion that the hotline is either dropping, it's more than 2 hours wait. There's a lot, but these tickets are also taking upwards from potentially weeks to 2 months to respond to. They do have a different urgency that they put your ticket under, but I can't say it's always accurate.
So this is where the ticketing is, and as you drill down and start clicking things, you go deeper and deeper into the detail of what particularly you're looking for and where your problems are. So they have a lot of issues, so they've got a lot of drop downs.
And then once you put in your business info, you can put in what your information is. There's no ability to attach anything in here. My recommendation, and it does work sometimes, not always, but my recommendation is when you receive an email back from them, then if you feel that you can better explain this circumstance with some screenshots, then I respond with here's some screenshots. And typically they do receive it and can work with you through there.
Thanks for the question.
Great.
Thanks, Adrian. Okay, we're going to go over to, and this leads into the next question from Lisa. Just if you guys want to definitively answer this one, if you have separate companies with different import accounts, can you set up a single CARM profile, or do you need to have separate client portals for each company, for each import account?
So it's the same as the last question. The answer is no. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Okay, we're going to jump into another live one from Sue. Sue, did you want to go ahead?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Oh my goodness, you guys are so awesome at getting all of this stuff complained. I'll be polite with that stuff word. Okay, so I'm on CARM. I can account for all the amounts due, but then I have an overdue amount, which normally would come in when GHY sends me my statement. However, I see one transaction goes back to October 4th, and then the rest are all November. Now it's saying due immediately.
Yeah. And
should I
again,
go and pay?
No. Do immediately. That they're kidding.
Yeah.
They're kidding.
So
okay.
Again, I can't recall off the top of my head how you do pay. I believe that you pay us a part and we pay, but either way, just continue as is. You're going to get your statement from us as your broker.
Okay.
For anyone who isn't, you would get your statement from your broker and then you'll pay then That due immediate is because of those entries that were either during the blackout or held to ensure that your entry is
Super.
accurate before we send.
But Sarah, I do
Okay.
want to make a point of saying, because there are customers, there are importers that are not GHY's customer on this webinar, that I have been told that some brokers are, hi, here's your fee for your brokerage, and we're expecting you to just go onto the portal and deal with the portal yourself. So when we're advising, like there's always choices. Sarah shared insight there as to how we've went about working with our customers. If you've got a specific question and we're not your broker, recommend talking to your broker in that regard.
Yeah, it's good point. It's really good to make sure you're discussing what your payment options are with your broker. If there were changes, I would hope they've already advised you, but it's definitely each broker has chosen to do things for what's going to work best with their business.
Okay, so far everything is flowing fine with me. I just wanted to double check again that past due. I had talked to Sarah like a bazillion times already, but now I have a declaration that says CAD's due within 5 days. But
And that
it doesn't.
we'll take care of as well. That's on us.
So what
Okay.
that, like, I guess, and what they did a really crappy job of, in my opinion, in designing the portal, if I was customs designing a portal, I would design it such that it allows release and accounting. But they only designed a portal that looks after accounting. Well, last I checked, the reason most people hire us is for release 724 365. Obviously, you're looking for compliance and, you know, and the right type of accounting, but you really come to us for release. So what you see in that box is anything that a broker or GHY is released on your behalf that needs to be accounted for. And so whether it be GHY or whoever your broker is, that think of that almost as their work in process, that hi, they've fulfilled the release aspect and now they're awaiting to properly account on your behalf.
Okay, so this says it was due November 6th. Is anything going to get held up, or I'm just going to leave this in GHY's hand
Yep.
and you're going to send in this CAD?
You're
bet.
right.
We got you.
Okay, awesome. Now, last question. So UPS, I've given them authority. I can see their transactions going into the portal. So this last transaction, it is now my due diligence to see what shipment that was, make sure the value is coinciding, and the the GST that they're putting in the portal is what I agree to, correct?
So the answer is yes, correct to that. Because it is your account, and that's what the government has tried to do with the portal. They've tried
Okay.
to, regardless of who your service provider was, whether it be GHY, UPS, FedEx, or a courier that happened to be bringing in a delivered duty paid shipment, that is all on your account.
Right.
Our sales pitch, and I'm not supposed to do that at these meetings, but regardless of the mode of transport, GHY can handle all of your shipments for you all of the time if you'd like to have that happen. And one of the bonuses of that is you would know it's always consistent, and you've got one party standing behind things. Again, whether that be GHY or any other service provider, that is something that we recommend from a compliance standpoint. At least if we happen to do something wrong, we would do it consistently wrong. So it came to correcting that, it would be a much easier action to take, because UPS or FedEx may have a different interpretation of something than we would. So
Right.
that would be my only sales pitch to this, Sue. You totally understand what was said there.
I totally do, and I totally want GHY to take over my UPS stuff because UPS sucks. And how do I
I'm
go
pretty sure
about
we can
doing
vote
that?
on that one here.
Amen.
Moving along.
Thanks,
So
Sue.
I went to UPS and I said, GHY is our custom broker. I want them clearing, but how do I get UPS to switch that over to you guys?
let's take this offline because it's very easy to
Perfect.
do. It's just one letter, and then things just start coming to us. And you can also cancel. And Sarah, you could probably actually go into my account to show where if you cancel the delegations, that'll stop the ability to account.
But
So
I'm afraid that I'm going to miss anything with UPS because I don't trust them, right?
no, I
So I
totally get it. So Sarah's
I
just
would,
showing here. So in this case, these are the customs brokers that I have within my account. They've come to me and they say, "Hey, can we clear things for you?" So I've authorized them, and if I want to cancel any of them, let's cancel Carson, for instance. So Carson, we've got them here, and you see I approved them in 2021, and Sarah's going to cancel them right now. And so as soon as she cancels them, they will no longer be able.
okay. I'm
There
not
we
going to
go.
do that step until I get confirmation from UPS that GHY is going to take over that part.
That's
And
perfect.
then that way I can keep better track of it. So Sarah,
Wonderful.
you said you're gonna get a hold of me so that I can move forward and get that done, correct?
You bet. Yeah.
Thanks,
All
Sue.
right. Well, thank you. So far, everything's good on my world because you guys rock.
Thanks,
Thank
Sue.
you.
Thanks, you appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna keep going here. We've got a lot of questions. We've got another live one. We're gonna try and work through as many as we can in the next 14 minutes or so. Okay, so Joyce, how do I add an employee that can also process declarations? Also, how do you cancel a declaration that was submitted, but then we did not take the product across the border?
So how do you add an employee that can also submit declarations? I'm not sure I follow that one. I don't know if.
Yeah,
Well,
Joyce.
I think the reference there is if they're a business account manager, they can complete a CAD, but in order to submit a customs accounting declaration, but in order to submit a declaration, like I'm assuming you're talking about, I'm coming across the border to actually file basically a cash type transaction. But again, I'm starting to I'm making assumptions here.
Mhm.
And whoever has access to your portal can file a CAD, but it can only be submitted is if you're coming across with something live in a cash fashion, or if somebody's already done a release.
Yeah, and again, goes back to it's probably unlikely you're going to want to do the final accounting if you're paying for the broker to do the release. So it does depend on the situations. But as for how to get an employee into your portal, well, we've actually got a live option that we can show you
Oh,
here.
wonderful. Cool.
So,
Okay, so
So-
this is my home screen, right?
now,
Hey,
you're on the home screen. So now, first, the employee that you would want to have access will need to set up their own GC key. You're not bringing them in, you're not giving them access. They're first asking you for access. So they would set up their GC key, go through all the steps, and the last step is to put in your business number and say, "Hey, can you let me in?"
I think in addition to the employee, the same thing applies to the broker. You can't select the broker. A broker has to select you. So a broker has to say, "Hi, can I have access to your portal?" And you have to say yes. So thanks for saying it like that, Sarah. It's the invitation has to come from the person who wants to join, not you going to seek them.
Exactly. And here under set up my portal is where you would check both, whether it's an employee or it is a business relationship. There's other links, yeah. So we're going to go in here. So Al does have a couple employees that he's already approved. And we're going to go over to access request. And in here, you can see that I've requested access. And you can go into details. If he's not sure, he can say, who is this? Oh, okay. So Sarah has asked for access as of today and grant me BAM access. I would, as Al, go in and hit approve. And then it gives you options on what you do want that employee to be able to have access to. So if you're wanting them to just submit on your behalf, you wouldn't need to provide them with BAM access. You can then either select all or individual. Individual is not going to matter in the case of Al because he only has one RM. So there's not a lot of difference. The big difference here is that you can select business account manager on all, whereas if you do individual, the highest access you can provide by RM is a program account manager access. In this case, I am asking for BAM access, but you can also select any of these other ones. Editor, I do believe off the top of my head would be a viable option for if you just want them to submit on your behalf.
But if Sarah's ever asking for BAM access, I'm always going to give it to her because she knows how to look after the needs of our clients and me in this case.
And here gives you, okay, so we have that, but if you want to click down, it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what that entails. So depending on what kind of access, you'll see what options you've provided. So what can they do? What can't they do? You know, things like enroll in a CBSA program won't be there. Manage business relationships will be just a view, not an edit. So there'll be different options that are edit versus view versus not even able to complete on your behalf. And then just hit approval. And now I'm in here twice. Technically, I think it pulled over some of the stuff from our test site, but.
Thank you. Well, thanks, Sarah.
Thanks,
I haven't seen that done in a very long time.
Okay, we're going to go over into a live question here. Adrian, did you want to go ahead?
Hi again.
Adrian.
Early on, GHY had offered to post the bond on behalf of their clients. Any idea about like how much it would cost just yet, or is that too early? Because I know we don't need I guess our company doesn't need a bond until next year. But I don't know.
So Adrian, I would recommend connecting with us offline on that question. I shouldn't be discussing cost or anything like that in this particular session, and you're breaking up a smidge. So Sarah would be happy to take your call, carm@ghy.com, and provide support and direct answers.
Perfect. Thank you, Adrian.
Can you hear me? No.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can. You're breaking up a little bit, but did you want to add one more thing?
You were looking and showing all the different accounts. I'm just curiosity.
Sorry, Adrian. We can't hear you. You're breaking up a lot. If you want to submit your question through the Q&A, we can take that offline.
Just give me a call, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to jump into one more live question here. Brad, did you want to go ahead?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Hi, Sarah, Alan. Appreciate this session. Yeah, so just to summarize, perhaps, where do I see my status as a business account manager? I'm going to have a few questions here.
If you're not sure what your own status would be, it's tough because I am on Al's account, so he's going to have full access.
But you're going to see me here, right? Like, so pretend like he's me.
So go in here, go again to your employees. And in here, you can see all your employees. So let's say you are looking at yourself. You can just go to details and it will say down here under that particular RM, what type of access group there is there. So let's just see. If maybe you've given a different.
No, I think I made everybody
BAM. So everybody's BAM, but you could have somebody then noted as a program account manager, editor. So if yourself is noted as a program account manager, you may be finding you have limited visibility to some items.
I see. Okay, so that's where it is there under that. Okay. Program account manager. Okay. I sent it in for a BAM, but it doesn't look like it's updated yet. So we sent in the letter, etc. So I'll follow up with that. Now that's great. The statement I can get see what's overdue. I see there's 4 items. I notice on column C and D, it's the numbers aren't transposing. It's in a CSV format. Do you guys know how to actually display the numbers there?
Are you talking about your statement of account?
Yeah, well, I went to do the transaction download.
Okay. And if it's showing up as a, you're going to want to change it to text. So you're probably just needing to click on your data ribbon and then go text to column, next, select text, and then finish. And that should switch it so that you can see the full number. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. Not a problem. Text to column.
Yeah.
Now exactly. In this case, I'm seeing the GST that's owed. I certainly like your statements from before because you'd show the value in the same line. I don't see that here. Is that in the statement, or how do I see the value for the GST that's being charged?
Yeah, so that transactional history is really a very basic view of what is going to be on your account. So if we go over here. When you look at transactional history, and what Brad is speaking to is that you're going to see what may be owed, and each line would be separate. So your GST and then your duty, or in this case, this is one entry here. It's the same entry, but it's posting two lines because you're going to have your PST separate.
But that only applies on casual goods. Like pardon me. We don't have a demo account with CBSA. I happen to have a personal account, and I have no problem sharing that with Sarah or for the purpose of this demonstration. And because I'm a casual person, I have to pay both GST and PST. And the government didn't assign, or they didn't build the system such that it would calculate or deal with the display of PST on one line. If you're a business, it would only be one line. It would display perfectly across.
It'll still separate. So
But we don't do.
there won't be PST,
PST.
but everything is still separated, which is the question here.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank
your
you.
duty would be here on a separate line. Anything else would be separated. So that's why when you're downloading it, you're going to see multiple lines with perhaps one transaction, depending on what is owed. But this information that I scroll through is all you're going to see. This is just providing you an overview of what is due, not your actual transaction history. You would still want to, in my opinion, your best is going to be what you obtain from your broker usually. And I would reach out to them and ensure you get that. So in the case of GHY, we supply the K84 report, which will provide what was actually value on that shipment. Or if you're looking at something specific and you know the transaction that you're looking at, you can go into declarations and you go over to your list of declarations. This will give a little more detail on what is going on. So in here, this is again the transaction that was under ALS with an approved status. It's not going to have as much detail here. It doesn't really show the duties and taxes, but you can go into view here. And this will give you a view of what, in our case, what we as a broker declared on Al's behalf. This is your total duties and taxes. This is the total value in Canadian dollars, the 55.57. So it gives a little more detail, and you can then download the CAD, which will give you an overview of the lines and what was declared.
I see. Are you guys still sending out a statement on the 25th, the K84?
Yeah, we'll still send out the information that will provide you with what each transaction would be, what the due is, what the value for duty rate was, or value.
Okay, because yeah, I got 4 items that are overdue, and they're saying it's due immediately. That's because of the stopped on the 4th, and now they put in more. So I plan to get that from you guys and then pay it by the 31st of November based on normal items. So I assume that's going to be included in the statement then, right?
You bet. Yeah, as long as it's been declared and everything's good to go. Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Brad, for your question. Okay, we've got a lot of outstanding questions, but we'll pull those out and we're gonna try and get back to everyone on those with some answers. But we're at the hour, so we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna mark this at the conclusion of our sixth and last open mic session for this week. I'm sure we'll schedule more for next, so stay tuned. Thanks again to everyone for attending and asking such amazing questions today. Special thanks, of course, to Al and Sarah for sharing their knowledge to help us better understand all the changes that have come about by CARM. So as a reminder, follow-up email will be sent out with links to the session's recording and additional CARM resources. We will also notify the individual who asked the best live question about their GHY care package. And again, we're always here to support our clients through this journey of CARM and the responsibilities as importers, ensuring that compliance with Canada Customs. So please reach out to us at any point. We're always here to help. I want to wish everyone a good day and take care.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Goodbye.